In today's video, I'm going to tell you 9 factors to consider before we can run a commercial snail farming. Before we can start snail farming, there are 9 factors that we need to consider before we can become a successful snail farmer. The purpose of rearing snail is to make profit. So if you want to start snail farming and make profit, so we have 9 factors that you need to consider before you can run a successful snail farming. So without wasting most of our time, so the first factor to be considered before you start snail farming is environment. So where you want to sited your snail farm, so there are many things that you need to consider. So the vicinity, your snail farm environment. So you have to consider, is that environment free from chemical emission from the industry? Is that environment safe from chemical? So that's the first thing to be considered. Another thing is smoke. So you have to consider whether that place you want to site your snail farm is free from smoke. So that's another thing to consider. So another thing to consider is the acidic of the land. So you have to check whether that land it contain acid. So is that land is acidic? Maybe that land it contains salt and other things that can harmful your snail. So that is part of what you need to check in that snail environment where you want to site your snail farm. So you have to check whether that land is also fertile. If you want to go for snail greenhouse, if you want to adopt that method, is that land fertile to plant different varieties of fruit and vegetable? So these are the things to consider before you can site your snail farm. So the first thing is the environment. So another factor to consider is soil type. So as we all know, we have different types of soil. We have clay soil, we have loamy soil, and we also have sandy soil. So but in snail farming, so we have 2 types of soil. We have only one soil that you can use to rear snail. Either you want to embark on want to adopt snail greenhouse or intensive caging system, where you put soil inside your snail hutch. So the best soil to use, so you have to consider whether that soil is loamy soil. So we can't use clay soil, sandy soil in snail farming. So the best soil to use to get best result, to make more profit, is to use loamy soil or humus soil. So humus soil is the gain organic matter. So you can prepare that one on your own, but the best soil to use, you have to consider whether that where you want to site your snail farm, that land is loamy soil. So I'm someone that want to embark on intensive caging system, which is block system or concrete trenches or block trenches. So you have to consider where you will get loamy soil. So that is the second factor to consider if you want to run a successful snail farming. So another method to consider before you can start snail farming is to consider the housing system that you want to adopt that will suit the type of snail you want to rear to make more profit. So we have different types of housing system in snail farming. We have extensive caging system, which is greenhouse. We have intensive caging system, which is block trenches, wood trenches, or hunch box. So we also have semi-intensive caging system, which is bucket, drum, tire, etc. So, but if you want to rear snail for commercial purpose, so you have to choose the best method that will make you to make more profit and succeed. So, but if you want to rear snail for commercial purpose, you either go with intensive caging system or extensive caging system. You either go with snail greenhouse or you go with block trenches or wood block trenches or hunch box. So you can go with wood. So, but you can also combine the two if you have the capacity. You can combine the two method. You can combine intensive cage system with extensive cage system where you have greenhouse and also have block trenches or wood trenches. That's the best way if you want to succeed as a commercial snail farming. So another method to consider is pests and diseases. So before you can start your snail farming, so you have to consider you have to consider the parasite, so the pests that can attack your farm. So you have to put them into consideration. So we have different parasites that can attack our snail farm, like termite, ants. So all these termite ants, they are not harmful to snail, but you have to chase them away from your farm so that they will not be disturbing your farm. So, and another parasite that are harmful to our snail, so there are many. We also have flamicolis. So which this one, whenever they enter your farm, so they will lay egg on top of the snail flesh. So this egg will hatch. So they will now later turn to carabid. So all those carabids, they will be killing different types of snail. So we also have toad, fraud. All these things, they are parasites that can kill your snail. So all these things, how do we combat all those things? How do we build your snail house just so that we prevent majority of these things by providing gutter around your snail greenhouse or block trenches? So all these things, all these factors need to be considered before you construct or you set up your snail farm. So that is parasite. Another disease. So apart from parasites, we also have diseases. So the common disease in snail farming is fungal infection. So you have to make sure that when the food that you will be giving your snail, anything to give your snail, you have to make sure that it's free from any chemical or any harmful thing that can kill your snail. So because when they eat contaminated food, so the snail will be infected. So when snail dies, so if you don't pick it out on time, so the disease will start spreading among other snail. So it will start causing more infection among your snail. So you also have it in mind how you will prevent all this, how you will prevent the infection among your snail. You also pick out leftover. So when your snail are eating leftover, so they will be having infection. So they will have, that's where they always pick the fungal infection, that most of the snail they will be dying. So this fungal infection, whenever they are eating the contaminated food, so if you don't usually pick out the leftover, your snail will be dying easily. So so all these things must be prevented. You must have it in mind of how to prevent infection among your snail. So another factor to consider before you set up your snail farming is food and feeding. So how do you must understand the different types of food that snail love to eat. Snail eat snail mostly feed on plants. That's their nature. They feed on plants. So like fruit, vegetable and tubers. So you must know all these types of food that snail love to eat, either tuber, fruit and vegetable. You must understand all these type of food that snail love to eat before you start your own snail farm. So, and how you will feed this snail, how do how you will feed snail, because the way we feed snail is also one of the most important parts of the of rearing snail. So you must understand the way, when and how you will feed them so that they can grow faster. So if you want to make profit, the way you feed your snake, you have to understand it to make more profit and also to reduce cost of feeding. Because some people don't even know that we are also giving snake formulated feed and calcium. So how do you combine formulated feed, calcium and the organic food and maximize and minimize cost of feeding and also make more profit? So you must understand all these things, the food that you will be giving your snail, that snail love to eat, and how you will feed snail to make more profit. All these factors also need to be considered before you start your own snail farm. So another factor to consider before you set up your snail farm is marketing. How do you sell your snail after production? So you have to do your research on how we sell snail. So you must do your research very well. Where do you want to sell your snail? Which method do you want to adopt? So we have different ways by which we can sell our snail. You can adopt local method. So by selling it, introduce it to your friends, selling it at market, along the street, or moving from one place to another. So or selling it on social media, exporting your snail. So you have to consider how are you going to sell your snail before you start rearing snail, so that after production you won't be running up and down to sell your snail. So that's another factor that you need to consider before you set up your snail farm. So method another factor to consider before you set up your snail farm is security. So where you want to build your snail farm. So I will combine these two together. And the last one, security and biosecurity of your snail farm. So before you set up your snail farm, so you have to check that where you want to build your snail farm, the security of that place. That if you set up your snail farm, is it going to save from people from outside that they want to steal your snail? So, and how will you provide security at your snail farm? How do you provide security at your snail farm? So are you want to make use of dog? Are you want to make use of hunter? So you have to consider which method to adopt to provide security at your snail farm, so that after that you have spent a lot of money, people will not come one day and pack all those snail away. away Even in terms of the manager that will manage your farm, some manager, they'll be rearing your snail, they'll also be stealing snail. They will go and provide their own farm somewhere. So as they are rearing your snail, they will also be picking some snail. So they will also be rearing their own snail. When they pick from your farm, they go and store it at their own farm. So they'll be rearing your snail, they'll also be stealing your snail. So people from outside can also and come with different varieties of arms to pick your snail. So you have to consider the security of where you want to sited your snail farm. Is it safe from people that can steal your snail, or some predator also? So you have to consider the security of your snail farm, and how you will provide security at your snail farm, so that after that you have spent a lot of money, so you will not lose everything. Are the 9 factors that we need to consider. So don't forget to like this content, subscribe to this channel, always on your notification bell, so that when I release my next video you can get notified. Also share this content for others to benefit. Welcome to ALUBARIKA Snail Farm, your ARCHATINIDAE-CULTURIST, the snail professor, encyclopedia of snail farmer. Thank you for watching.